Welcome back to another beautiful day in the land of music. My name is Douglas, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about scale mode in the maudio Oxygen Pro Mini. In this video, I'm going to talk about what scale mode is, show you how to change the settings, and then give you a couple of examples without scale mode on and then with scale mode on so you can see the difference. So I'm not going to turn scale mode on yet. I'm just going to play a couple of chords. So a C major, an F major, A minor, G, and if I hit notes, it's going to play the wrong note. So if I bump the A flat, it's going to play that note, right? Because I don't have any sort of safety on. Now, obviously, it's best to learn scales, learn how to play chords correctly. But when you're playing on a mini keyboard like this, sometimes it's easy to bump notes. And so what scale mode can do is actually help you to make sure that every note you play is within the scale you designate. And I'll show you how to change the different scales. But to turn scale mode on, we're going to tap on this scale button right here. The button's going to light up showing that we're in scale mode. Now, if we just play that same chord progression, sounds the same, right? Let me play a couple of bad notes in there. Now notice whether I play an A flat or an A, it's playing the same note. So one thing to note here is that different manufacturers go about scale mode a little bit differently. Some manufacturers will actually mute the note. So if I play a wrong note, let's say this A flat, instead of hearing this, you would hear this. So it would actually mute this bad note here, the A flat, because it's not within the scale. So this is an F major. And then if scale mode was muting and I played a bad note, so you can see it would actually change the tone of the chord that I'm playing. It would essentially go from a 3-note chord to a 2-note chord because it's muting that bad note I'm playing. Now the other way, and the way that the Oxygen Pro Mini handles this, is it actually duplicates the notes. So as you'll notice here, it plays the exact same note for that A flat and that A. So whether I play the F major chord correctly or incorrectly, it sounds exactly the same. So as I'm going through, so I could play a bunch of wrong notes in there, and it sounds fine. So I call this cheat mode because no matter what I play, it's going to always play a note that's within the scale. And to take a look at the scales that come with the Oxygen Pro Mini, we hold Shift and at the same time press the scale, which is going to perform. Remember, the labels underneath the buttons you access by holding Shift. So we're going to hold Shift, we're going to tap the scale button. This is going to bring up our scale edit menu, and we have 3 options here. We have the MIDI channel, so I could tap on this and I could change the MIDI channel that scale mode is sending out on. Global is just going to pull from your global menu channel here. And then we could scroll to the right and we've got the root note. So the root note is going to be the key that you're playing in most likely. So you can see here it's set to the key of C. And you'll notice it sounds a little funky because we're not actually playing a major scale. I'll show you that here in a minute. But if I was playing a major scale in the key of D and I turned scale mode off, my major scale would be, if in the key of C, it would be key of F. So you can see, depending on the key we're in, there's going to be different sharps and flats that get hit to keep that major scale. So turning scale mode back on, if I change this to, let's say, the root note of D, and I play this, it's going to always keep the notes within scale within the key or the root note that I have set here. The other thing that I can set is let's go back and change this to C, and let's scroll over and go to the scale. You can see right now it's on the pentatonic major scale, which is why we're getting that funky. And so what we can do is let's just use this as a good example and scroll back to the major scale. So we've got a lot of different scales here, but let's choose major and go in here. So now, without scale mode on, a major scale in the key of C, with scale mode on, sounds great, right? So let's hit a couple bad notes in there. So I hit a couple of sharps and flats and it sounded fine. So now I can play my chords. So as you can see, I'm playing the C major, and then I flat the E, and it still gives me that C major chord there. So scale mode is a really easy way for you to make sure the notes that you're playing are in the scale you choose. So if you're playing in a major or a minor scale or one of these other more funky scales, you can choose those, and it's going to make sure that the notes you're playing are in that scale for the key you've selected. So again, if we go back to the settings, we have our MIDI channel, we have the root note or the key that we're playing in, and then the scale we're selecting. And remember that the maudio Oxygen Pro is duplicating the notes, not muting the bad notes. I prefer it this way. Some people prefer the muting. It's really a personal preference there. But that's really what scale mode is. And it can be really useful, especially on a mini keyboard like this, where my fingers are a little bit on the chubby side. So sometimes I end up hitting bad notes. So scale mode can actually come in handy. Even though I know how to play scales, it can be nice because on a tiny little keyboard like this, it'll actually make sure that I play more correct notes rather than hitting bad ones with my chubby fingers. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you've got any questions around scale mode in the Oxygen Pro Mini, throw those in the comments below. My next video on this controller will be chord mode, so be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit that little bell notification icon so you don't miss that video when it comes out. Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and keep making that music.